Good afternoon and welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I'm the host of this show. This is a show dedicated to progressive rock. So we're here on the final day of my favorite albums from 1975. This is the number one album, February the 28th, day 28, album 28, and we're talking about Fly By Night by Rush. Was there ever any doubt? There was a time period when Alive was probably a higher up than this was, but over the years this has moved ahead, and now it's kind of fading a bit because it's been played so much, but it's still number one. I love the album cover. I think it's one of Rush's best album covers, and it's one of my favorite of their albums, probably my second favorite, but it's being challenged by relatively newcomer at the bottom there, but at any rate, this is a fantastic album, released February the 15th, 1975. My best friend's sister, when I was a kid, that was her birth date. I always remember it because of that. Toronto Sound again, in Toronto Sound Studio in Toronto again. 37 minutes long. They labeled this as a hard rock heavy metal album. It certainly has some elements of both, but I think of it more as a hard rock progressive album myself. Mercury, on the Mercury label in the States, Anthem Records here in Canada. Produced again by Terry Brown and Rush. Some great tracks, and of course it features, I'm going to read it out just because they took the time to write it. I should take the time to read it. I'm going to close this off first so it's out of my face. So you've got Geddy Lee on bass guitar, classical guitars, and all vocals. And he also plays Bytor in the Snow Dog. Neil Peart on percussion and drums, of course. Alex Lifeson, electric guitars, 6 and 12 strings acoustic guitars, and he plays Snow Dog in that particular track. So of course this was released in 1975. 8 tracks on the album. Long being one of my favorites. This particular CD I've had since the late 80s. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've had it since the late 80s. Maybe even earlier. I may have had it as far back as like 88 when the CDs first came out, because I didn't have any of my albums anymore. Of course, we all know that my sister got them, but I did have this also on cassette. I might even have had it on 8-track because it was one of my favorite albums, but I definitely now have it here on compact disc. So anyways, you've got 8 tracks on the album. It leads off with the great and probably the first Rush song I ever heard, and the first one I ever liked, which was Anthem. I think you guys have probably heard this story. I rented an album from the library for 3 weeks, and this was the first album I rented, and it was the track that captured my imagination. I said, wow, this is very different. It didn't sound like Kiss at all. Next track out, Best I Can, another really great song. This song, I think, was kind of a leftover song from their first studio album, but it fits in very well on this album, I think. Then you have Beneath, Between, Behind. It's got to be a difficult song to sing, trying to cram all of those words into the vocals. And Geddy does a great job on it. I think it's an underrated song for me, I think. Then you get to the epic and fantastic heavy metal prog song. Maybe this could be one of the first kind of heavy prog metal songs, right? Bytor and the Snow Dog. It's just so classic. The guitar and the bass and the drums here are all off the charts. The lyrics are fantastic. It's about a battle between good and evil, of course, and the electronic noises that they make for the dogs is fantastic as well. It's just a really great way to end that side one of the original vinyl. Side two is very different. not nearly as heavy as side one was more of a heavy side to the album, all of the kind of hard rock and heavy stuff. And then you got side two, which is a little more poppy, a little less, a little bit more kind of, just a little bit more poppy sounding, a lot of kind of a little more acoustic stuff on it, a little bit more slower paced songs. Yeah, not as fast or as heavy as side one. So you start out with the radio friendly and probably their first really sort of hit, which was Fly By Night. It's also one of my favorite Rush songs. Great tune. Then you got Making Memories, which is a very underrated song, and I think it's as good as any other track on here. Usually Fly By Night and Making Memories are the two songs that when they come on, I love to sing both of them. They're fantastic tunes. Rivendell's a kind of a weaker sister on the album. It's a quiet, kind of respective of J.R.R. Tolkien's world that he created. Some people say it doesn't really fit on the album. It's a bit of a prog song. A beginning of prog maybe for Rush, by Torn the Snow Dog and Rivendell, both of them. I don't mind Rivendell. The lyrics are very, of course, poetic. The music maybe not so well liked by people who wanted more heavy stuff from Rush. And then, of course, you have In the End, which is the final track, ends the album off very well. Pretty melodic, heavy riff song with strong vocals. Yeah, just a fantastic display of all of their skills on this particular album. And the album itself is kind of really neat to look at. That's a huge and beautiful picture of a snowy owl in the dusk. So there you have it. That's the final album of this series. Coming in number one, Rush's Fly By Night. Probably was never ever going to be a surprise to anybody. Wasn't a surprise to me. I knew it when I started the series. I knew it would be the number one album, and that some of these others would move around, but it was going to be number one. And it was fun to do. I enjoyed it. I got to listen to some stuff I haven't listened to for a while. I even have my Fly By Night Rush shirt on just for the occasion. I hope you like this video. That would be much appreciated. You can leave your comments about the album below. We will be doing a honorable mention slash kind of look at some albums that I haven't really had much time to listen to before or haven't really heard. I may know a few tracks on them, but albums that have interested me, we'll be doing a little of that too. So I'll do all the honorable mentions first in the next video, and then I'll do a little bit of talking about some albums that I never actually owned or really heard all that much of, but since I've been on this channel doing this stuff, I've been awakened to a lot of stuff that I missed out on, and that's the whole purpose of this anyway. So getting awakened to the stuff you never heard before. So I hope you enjoyed this series. It was fun to produce. Got to listen to a lot of albums that I haven't heard for a lot of years, and some stuff that I've added to this year. There's quite a few albums that I hadn't never heard before, but they came out that year, and I got to experience them this year. So that's the beauty of all this. So I hope you liked it. So please like and subscribe. It's much appreciated. All this work I put in, it's nice to get some kind of recognition for it. And I'm still working on this new computer. I seem to be, I suffer from computer literacy or illiteracy. So I'm working on it. I'll eventually get it. There's no real hurry. I'm very familiar with the one I'm using right now. Just it's not as good a sound as that one. Anyways, we will see you later. I hope you enjoy this video when it comes out tomorrow. And we'll be back probably tomorrow night to do the honorable mention and the albums that are kind of newer to me from that same year. So I hope you have a good night. Take care. Goodbye.